to Invest Insights. I'm Abby Maloney. I'm joined today by Jim Anthony, the CEO of APG Capital and APG Advisors. Jim, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure, Abby.
You're heavily involved within your community. You've served as a guest lecturer for Duke University, a board member for several associations, and a residential guitarist. How has community involvement shaped your career path and the culture of your firm?
Well, I love answering this question because, frankly, I'm very opinionated on this topic, Abby. In my opinion, companies that are disengaged from their communities, and we all know who they are, should be disrespected for disengagement. It's not good for the company, and it's not good for the community. The opposite is true. Engaging with the people of the community, whether it's leadership to the folks on the streets, particularly those who are most in need. If we're in the business of making profits in a community that is providing to us labor and a regulatory framework, a banking network, or a capital network that ensures our success, why in the world would we not be giving back to the community? And we've been doing this for a very long time, and each year we've ramped it up more and more. Because frankly, I don't think you can outgive the giver of all good gifts. The truth is that we're all stewards, no matter who we are, where we are, or what we got. It is essential for us to understand that and then behave that way in the business context. It's too often that people create boxes in their life, and they think that giving back is something they do independently of their business. That's wrong. In fact, the vast majority of our lives are spent in our marketplace, in our workplace. That is where we're going to have the most impact in the community. So our culture is really built around community engagement. We have a number of things that we do that are unique in our organization. We have a team that is volunteers who sit on a care team, meet once a month. They determine what they're going to give of the profits that we have set aside to share in the community. We have supported in excess of 100 different organizations in our community over the many, many years that we've been doing this. The rewards for us of seeing transformational projects funded, individual lives changed. I mean, that's not beyond us. Just to support the individuals in our company, for example, who have some sort of catastrophe strike them, whatever that might be. So we're really serious about giving, and we think everybody else ought to be too. We do it largely to be a light in the community, to show people how to do it and why they should do it. So how's that for an answer?
I'd say that's pretty inspirational. I think companies that can creatively connect to their local community, as you just mentioned, are those that are really walking the path and creating a better community overall.
Yeah, amen to that.
APG investment philosophy focuses primarily on acquiring value-add industrial, office, and multifamily assets below replacement cost. How are you adapting your strategy to a landscape with an unprecedented amount of capital and saturated markets?
With great delicacy, excuse me, what's the right word? I'm trying to be highly deliberate and disciplined, and look for delicious assets that are not overpriced. How about that? The fact is that most everything is overpriced in the best markets in the country. There's been a massive flight to the perceived safety of real estate from those assets, which are now sort of deemed to be risk on, from stocks and bonds to private equity to, everything that is not a hard asset. So in that kind of world, as you've just alluded, it can be very difficult to find opportunities that actually will make money, because there's so many people who are treating it almost like money laundering, get the
Right.
money out of the market where their stocks are at risk and putting it into hard assets. We have been focusing, as we always do, on fundamental value metrics,
Mm.
like how is this property, how does it fit within the replacement cost framework? Replacement costs are moving up very rapidly, as you know. Those those numbers kind of keep lifting up what we're willing to pay, and they are for everyone else. I don't know when replacement costs might fall, but they do. People forget that whenever there is a market correction in real estate, land values drop, construction costs drop, materials drop as demand for those products drops. We're a heck of a lot closer to that phase of the market than we are to the beginning of it. We're actually deeper into this cycle than I've seen in my very long career. We've been on a consistent march upwards from about 2011 or 12. So we're 10 years in and it doesn't seem to want to stop. Well, that's what everybody said back in 2007 when it didn't seem to want to stop. I remember having an economist from a national bank in our office, and he didn't see any reason why investments might in real estate might be at risk. And
Yeah.
sure enough, 6 months later, he was eating crow. So we're trying to focus on land, Abby. There's not as many people who can buy land because they don't understand it.
Right.
Buying land and developing or entitling and reselling is a game that can only be played by insiders in a market. So that is one of the things we're focusing on. The other thing that we're doing is we're looking outside of the core markets where the appetite is overheated. So in the Raleigh-Durham area, as an example, we're active in multiple states. We are deeply engaged in markets that are not as hot
Right.
yet, because we know that the growth is going there. But the fact that those communities are overlooked gives us an opportunity to buy at the kind of prices we're willing to pay. So that's kind of how we're dealing with an overheated market, discipline, and relocation of our attention.
And what might those new markets be that you're looking into?
So some of the places here in Raleigh-Durham are the peripheral communities and counties. So if you follow any one of our major arterials, transportation arteries, they're going to take you to communities that are less famous than Raleigh and Durham. So if you were following, for example, 85, so the Interstate 85 corridor is well documented as one of the hottest growth corridors in the country. And people talk about Raleigh-Durham as a node, which it is. And then they talk about the Triad as a node, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point. Then they talk about Charlotte as a node, and then Greenville, Spartanburg, and on down to Atlanta, on down to Birmingham. So that corridor, and I would include Richmond in that strip, has a lot of little communities that are just outside where all the big names are. And so those are the places where we actually are focusing on every one of those markets. We're in Atlanta, we're in Greenville, Spartanburg, we are in Charlotte, and the Triad and the Triangle. So we're just not getting in the way of the big money guys from California and New York, who are, and from overseas, frankly, that are just putting everybody else out of business because they're paying so much.
Season, it's all about creativity. How would you define creativity, and what does that look like for your firm and industry moving forward?
So creativity is, I think, one of the critical ingredients to a business survival. That means that if you have creativity, you've got much better odds of surviving. If you don't have it, you're a lot more likely to fail. Cultivating creativity in a business is the challenge. And I think that there's a number of fun ways to do that. Um, there's some others that are actually kind of disciplined. But I think having an eye out for people who are either within the firm or that you might hire either as third-party consultants or as internal hires that have latent creativity, they become a powerful resource to implement growth strategies and frankly, survival strategies sometimes. What do I mean by creativity? I think that you've got to start with, where does creativity come from? Well, there is one creator, in my view, who started all of this. And so you kind of think in terms of being a descendant of that creator and how I might be able to tap into it. So for me, what creativity looks like is I'm literally asking for downloads. When I look at a piece of land or I look at a building that I think could be repurposed, I am kind of tuning in
Mm.
to a channel where I might hear, see, and know what the future of that piece of land or building could look like. That is a lot of intuitive stuff, but it's also, I think, trainable to a degree. And so one of the things that I try to do with our folks is take them on trips when I'm going to look at a piece of land, and I'll ask, what do you think ought to be here? What do you see on this property? And then we engage in a conversation around that. And sometimes people see it, sometimes they don't. But usually I'll see what is supposed to be there, and then I'll lead them to that conclusion, in addition to respecting what they're suggesting, and they might be dead on it. So that's one way to do it. And of course, you can do the same thing with existing buildings, and it's extremely fun to do that. Then there's a lot of tools out there and tactics for getting creativity engagement in the office, and that can be it can also be out of the office. It can be climbing around on ropes. It can be doing trust circles and throwing bodies around the room. I mean, there's all kinds of wacko stuff that can be used to actually, you want to go wacko. To get creative, you have to stop thinking the way you always have and get quiet or get loud, laugh a lot, have fun, and then stuff starts to flow.
Mm.
So that's how we look at creativity, and why I love the real estate business so much, because I have an opportunity to shape the built real estate, built environment around me, and say, I did that. I thought of that. I got that. And then a whole team of people help make it happen. That's how does it get more rewarding than that?
Well, and it also sounds like you're having a lot of fun while you do it.
Absolutely right.
Well, thank you, Jim. That was Jim Anthony, the CEO of APG Capital and APG Advisors. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to hear more CEOs and thought leaders share their opinions and advice on today's business climate. Until next time, I'm Abby Malone, and this is Invest Insights. Thanks for tuning in.